So, if you could please tell us about yourself and where you're from originally.
Okay, so my name is Claudia and I'm originally from Colombia. I did my PhD in Seattle at the University of Washington, but now I'm back to Colombia, working as a professor at a public university in Medellin.
Awesome. And what exactly does your position involve? Are you still doing research while you're instructing?
I do research and I'm actually teaching research. So I'm a teacher educator in the language department and I love doing research. So I do work as a researcher and prepare like pre-service teachers to become researchers. So yeah, that's part of like what my position involves and doing a little bit of writing and engaging in different research projects. So those are kind of like the expectations for my position.
That sounds like it goes right hand in hand. Where did you complete your doctorate and in what year did you finish?
So that was University of Washington at the College of Education, and I just graduated on June 4th this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Of course. In practical terms, how would you say your doctorate research makes a difference in today's society?
Well, so I did my research around language sustenance with an indigenous people of the Wayuu people in La Guajira in Colombia. And, we know that indigenous languages are being displaced because of colonial languages. And so being able to work directly with the communities and to collaborate to turn education to the sustenance of indigenous languages and their ways of being and epistemologies. I think that's a really important contribution. And so I was really happy to be able to collaborate with this community in this particular project.
That is very cool. I believe you made some cool connections there. What did receiving the TIRF DDG mean to you?
It really made a huge difference for me precisely because I'm doing this collaboration with the community, with different like intergenerational members of the Wayuu people. So this called for being able to have talking circles to provide food for everyone involved, to have elders and like create kind of like this reciprocity with people involved in the community. So having like a single mom help cooking for everyone and being able to reciprocate her participation. And also in this particular community, the way you show relationality is not by, you don't give money to the communities, but there's something that you give in exchange for like having their time and their wisdom as part of your project. And having this scholarship really allowed me to keep that relationality and reciprocity with my community, being able to provide a little bit more for participants for their time and for their knowledge.
That's awesome. So, what specific impact did the award have on your ability to complete the dissertation, maybe outside of the reciprocity?
So it also allowed me to pay someone to help me with transcriptions. And, researchers know this is a very time consuming part of doing your research. And without this funding, I would have had to do all of this by myself. And because I was also collecting data in an indigenous language, then one of my research participants was also supporting with translations of this information. And so with this funding, not only did I have someone to help me with transcriptions, but was able to have someone from the community, which in turn just allowed me to collect data in a language that was the one that mattered for the community. So I believe that made a huge difference in how I conducted my research.
Yeah. What advice would you give people who are interested in engaging in research in our field?
I would say it's really important to rely on the communities that you're working with and like really moving from working on a community to moving to working for a community. And I feel like in education, it's really important to have the community's desires and needs as a starting point. So I would say that's a really good piece of advice I would provide to someone. Just like we know we have all these great ideas that come from theory, but really asking the community what their needs and desires are and like working together towards having a meaningful research project. I would say that's where I would go.
Was there anything that surprised you when you were in that collection stage of your process?
There were many things. I realized I had like some misconceptions about the status of the language that I was going to find, and I did not anticipate that this community is really strong in their languages and that actually conducting research that was led by the community members in their language, in their own ways of like knowing and being. And so that required a lot more work on my part, but being open to that, I feel like it made a huge difference for students and participants in my study to just really re-embed in their land practices.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who is new in the field versus more experienced in research, or is there any difference between that?
I would say there's a difference just because sometimes we want to know with topics that are popular when you're just starting to do research, or maybe your advisors are saying something that, maybe you should go this way or that way. But finding a way in which your passion is really at the center of your research, like whatever it is that you decide to do, you have to love what you're going to be doing, because I feel that makes a huge difference in how committed you are to your study, to your participants. This, like, doing research is very time consuming, and it takes a good part of your life, and you really, when you love what you're doing, then you really like commit to it, and it's not a torture to analyze your data, but you're excited about what you're seeing. So definitely follow your heart and really work on something that you feel really passionate about.
What advice would you give someone who is looking to apply for the DDG award?
Well, in my experience, I think it's really important to have a clear idea of what you're gonna do, and like have a very well-formed idea of like who your participants are gonna be, how long the project's gonna take, and like be at a point in your research that you have like a solid proposal, so that your proposal, like your application, stands out from the like tons of people that are applying from all over the world. I feel like if you have a really clear idea of what you're doing, and you seek support from your advisor, for example, to read your application to help you make it like clearer and just meeting all the guidelines that TIRF has for applications, that will give you an advantage as an applicant.
Okay. And what would you say to encourage someone who is considering donating to the TIRF organization?
Well, something that I really loved about this grant is that I had the freedom to do a project that was disruptive. And I feel like TIRF is really open to really cool projects that are impacting communities outside of the US. And donors, like when you're thinking about it, you're not only making an impact like in like English speaking countries. Like if you look at the scope of the proposals that we're able to present, you're making an impact worldwide. So as a donor, you're really making a change.
Thanks. And a little bit short and sweet, but is there anything else that you would like to share or expand on from your previous answers?
Uh, no, I think I've said it all. Just like invite everyone just to believe that their proposals are good and that they can make a change. And then if they've been doing their homework, like reading and constructing this and coming up with a project that is meaningful, don't hesitate to just apply, because I didn't think I was gonna make it, and yet here I am giving an interview just to thank TIR for the grant and the change that it made in my research.